I woke up that morning to the familiar hum of my coffee maker and the soft whine of the tractor outside my barn. It was supposed to be a peaceful day. Mow the pasture, haul some gravel, maybe fix the mailbox that someone's kid knocked over again. Simple stuff. But peace, as I've learned, doesn't last long when you live next to a Karen. The first red flag was the muffled honk 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 echoing down the driveway. Not mine, hers. I looked out my window and there it was, a brand new silver SUV parked dead center across my driveway. Not by the side, not near the edge, across it. Like she'd measured the exact angle to make sure no one could pass. I stepped outside, coffee in hand, trying to keep calm. My dog, Rusty, trotted beside me, wagging his tail, blissfully unaware that his human was about to have a full-blown HOA meltdown before 9 a.m. "Morning," I called out, forcing a smile. "You, planning to move that anytime soon?" Out of her SUV stepped Sandra, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. Perfect blowout hair, oversized sunglasses, and that expression people wear when they think they own the whole neighborhood. "Oh, hi," she chirped, voice dripping with fake politeness. "I just needed to run inside and make a quick call. You don't mind, do you?" "Actually, yeah," I said, keeping my tone even. "I've got to get to the supply store. Tractor fuel doesn't buy itself." She blinked, unimpressed. "It's just 5 minutes. Don't be dramatic." Then she turned us and walked away. I stood there, jaw slightly open, watching her vanish into her house like she hadn't just barricaded me in my own property. Rusty barked once, like even he couldn't believe it. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. No sign of her. I tried calling her. No answer. I texted, "Move your SUV. Now." She left me on red. By the time the clock hit noon, my patience had drained faster than the coffee pot. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just tired. Tired of the entitlement, the HOA rules she twisted to her convenience, the smug, "I'll do what I want" attitude. So I decided to do what I wanted. I walked back to the barn, grabbed my tractor keys, and stared at the 3-ton machine gleaming under the afternoon sun. The idea came slowly, half sarcasm, half impulse. But by the time I heard her laugh echoing from her porch, it had solidified. If she wanted to block my driveway, I'd just move the problem my way. The engine roared to life. Rusty barked again, this time like he knew something big was about to happen. When that tractor engine rumbled to life, it felt like the entire property held its breath. The birds went quiet. Even the wind stilled. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, a half smile on my face, wondering if I was actually about to do this. Let me be clear. I wasn't planning on wrecking her SUV. Not at first. I just wanted to make a point. Maybe nudge it a little, scare her into realizing how ridiculous she was being. But as I inched forward, the sight of her silver beast blocking my only way out hit a nerve I didn't know was still raw. This wasn't just about today. It was about months of her nonsense. Calling code enforcement because my grass was a half-inch too tall. Complaining that my tractor was too loud for suburban peace. Even suggesting I paint my barn beige to match the HOA color scheme. So yeah, I was done. I eased the tractor forward until its massive bucket hovered inches from her rear bumper. A bead of sweat rolled down my temple. My pulse synced with the slow, heavy thunk-thunk of the diesel engine. Then I saw her, through her kitchen window, holding a phone, laughing with someone. Completely oblivious. I revved the throttle. The roar cut through the air like a warning shot. Her head snapped toward me, sunglasses glinting. I swear, her smile vanished faster than a cat in a thunderstorm. She stormed out onto the porch, waving her arms. "What do you think you're doing?" she screamed. "Moving your car," I shouted back over the engine. "You can't touch my property!" she shrieked, voice cracking with fury. I shrugged. "Then move it." I said I'll do it when I'm ready. Wrong answer. I dropped the clutch. The tractor lurched forward. Metal met metal with a loud clunk. The SUV rocked slightly, rolling just enough to make her gasp. I paused, gave her one last chance. She didn't move, so I lifted the bucket, slowly, precisely. The SUV's front wheels lifted off the gravel, tires spinning helplessly in the air. Her face turned white. "You're insane!" "Maybe," I said, "but at least I can get to work now." The crowd was gathering, neighbors drawn by the noise. Phones were out, recording. A few gasps, a few laughs. Someone yelled, "About time someone stood up to her!" That's when Sandra's voice hit a pitch I didn't know humans could reach. "I'm calling the police!" And just as she pulled out her phone, the SUV, perfectly balanced for one glorious second, began to tilt. It was like watching slow-motion karma. The sound that came next wasn't a crash. It was a roar. Metal grinding against gravel, glass shattering, Sandra's scream echoing over the hum of the tractor. Her shiny silver SUV, the one she always bragged about, rolled gently off the driveway's edge and tipped into the ditch. I'll admit it, I froze for a second, heart hammering in my chest. I hadn't actually expected it to flip. I thought maybe it'd just slide, make a mess, dent her ego a little. But when that SUV landed on its side, a puff of dirt rising around it like a cinematic explosion, the neighborhood went silent. Sandra stood there, jaw open, phone dangling uselessly in her hand. The queen of HOA chaos had officially lost her throne. I killed the engine, climbed down and just stared. Well, I said half under my breath. Guess gravity filed the complaint for me. That earned a few stifled chuckles from the small crowd that had gathered by now. Old man Peters from down the street even muttered, "Been waiting for someone to do that for years." Sandra, however, was beyond words. She pointed at me like she was summoning lightning. You destroyed my car! You're going to jail!" I crossed my arms. "I didn't destroy it, Sandra. The ditch did. You parked it there." She stomped her heel into the gravel, trembling with rage. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm the HOA president. I'll have you—" "What?" I cut in. "Fined? You've already maxed out my patience." A few of the neighbors couldn't help themselves. They laughed. It wasn't mean, just that kind of disbelief laughter that breaks the tension when something insane finally happens in real life. But Sandra wasn't laughing. She was dialing 911, screaming into her phone about a violent attack and a deranged neighbor with a tractor. I didn't even try to argue. I just walked back to my barn, wiped the sweat off my hands, and grabbed another coffee. The cops would be here soon. I knew that. And I also knew every second of this was being recorded on at least 5 smartphones. When the sirens finally echoed down the road, I looked out from the porch and saw 2 patrol cars pull up. The officers stepped out, looking from me to the flipped SUV to Sandra, who was practically vibrating with rage. One of them sighed, hand on his belt. "All right, folks. Who wants to tell me what happened here?" Sandra pointed straight at me, shrieking, "He tried to kill me!" And that's when I smiled. Because right then I noticed one of the officers holding up his phone, watching the same video half the neighborhood had already uploaded. The moment that officer hit play, the tension in the air cracked like thunder. The video showed everything. Me calmly asking her to move her SUV, her ignoring me, then me using the tractor carefully until her car slipped into the ditch. No malice, no danger. Just poetic justice with hydraulic assist. Sandra's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "That video's edited!" she screeched. "He threatened me off camera! He's violent!" The officer raised a brow. "Ma'am, we've got at least 6 identical recordings from your neighbors." Her face went red. The kind of red that means you've run out of lies but haven't figured out how to stop talking yet. I leaned against the porch railing, sipping my coffee, doing my best to stay neutral. "Officer, I was just trying to go to work." She blocked my driveway. "You can see for yourself." The younger cop, clearly fighting a smile, nodded. "We did. Looks like a property dispute gone sideways." Sandra threw her hands up. "You can't just let him get away with this." The older officer glanced at her SUV resting gracefully in the ditch. "Ma'am, technically, you are trespassing. Blocking someone's driveway is illegal under county code." The look on her face right then. Priceless. She blinked rapidly, searching for something to say, something to fix this. But all that came out was a weak, "You're all against me." The crowd had started to disperse, but a few stayed behind, whispering. Someone even clapped quietly before realizing they probably shouldn't. The cops wrote a report, took a few photos, and eventually left her standing there alone, arms crossed, fury steaming off her like heat from asphalt. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low and the ditch finally stopped echoing her complaints, I sat on my porch with Rusty curled by my feet. The silence felt earned. Then my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Hope you enjoyed your little show. You'll regret this." I sighed. Of course. Karen never quits after round 1. The next morning, I woke up to a thick yellow envelope taped to my door. An official HOA citation for reckless property endangerment. Her signature at the bottom glared up at me like a threat. I almost laughed. After all that, she was still trying to win. But this time I didn't get angry. I got smart. I called the HOA board meeting for the next weekend. And I brought every video, every message, every petty citation she'd ever written me. When the board sat down, I played the full video of her blocking my driveway and the tractor incident from every angle. By the end, the silence was deafening. One of the board members finally said, "Sandra, this is indefensible." And just like that, the gavel came down. Motion passed to remove her as HOA president effective immediately. She stormed out of the meeting without a word. The door slammed so hard it rattled the windows. As I walked back to my truck, one of the older neighbors clapped me on the shoulder. "You didn't just move her SUV," he said, grinning. "You moved the whole neighborhood forward." I smiled, watching the sunset paint the sky. "Yeah," I said. "About time someone did." Rusty barked once, tail wagging. Maybe he understood. Don't miss out on all the crazy HOA drama. Hit subscribe to Only Karens now.